It is time to do a video about Kirk Cousins remaining on the Falcons roster, triggering a $10 million roster bonus. My thoughts, and for you guys to throw tomatoes at me. Welcome on in to an at-home edition of Falcons Today by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, and let's discuss. One, I was caught a little bit, off guard yesterday because the $10 million roster bonus triggers on the 5th day of the new league year, which is March 17th, because the new league year started March 12th, but I'm not really sure why it triggered from all ports yesterday on the 15th, but whatever, it's done, right? He's going to be here. So let's move past that here and let's discuss. A couple thoughts. One, hand up, just got it wrong. No other way to put it. I did not believe the Falcons would want to keep Kirk Cousins after what he said in New Orleans, which, did not make Fontenot or Raheem Morris look smart or honestly competent at their jobs. Like, here's your starting quarterback saying I played through a shoulder and elbow injury, and there was really no indication of that whatsoever. One day he popped up on the injury report with an elbow injury, and Cousins said that was a clerical mistake, and it was off the next day, which clearly could not have been true. So either Kirk played through an injury and Raheem Morris didn't know that his quarterback was injured, or he knew and they covered up. Either way, it doesn't make him look very good. And I thought that could be one big step towards Cousins trying to push his way out. But kudos to Terry Fontenot. Honestly, got to give him credit. The guy stuck to his guns. He said they weren't going to move on from him. They said they were not going to release him, and they wanted to keep him as a backup. And I called BS, and they just slapped me in the face with some bullshit. And they were right. They held on to him. They kept him. I still don't think he's going to be on the roster week one. And right now you might look at me and go, this motherfucker's in denial. He's wrong, and now he's trying to double it down. No, I don't. I don't think Cousins will be on the Falcons roster week one. I just don't believe it is good for Michael Penix. And right now, I am in the camp of do what you can to make Penix as successful as possible. And having his backup be someone who doesn't want to be there because Cousins asked Arthur Blank to go play for a different team, that seems like a disaster. You should want a backup supporting your young quarterback in his development who wants to be in that role, in the developmental role. A veteran who kind of knows his spot in the league and is like, yep, I understand what my job is, like a Jacoby Brissett, right? Did that with Drake May last year. And he was great when May took over. Brissett was super helpful. That to me is like a much better backup than Cousins. And I've just assumed Terry Fontenot or Raheem Morris will reach that conclusion as well, and they'll move on from Cousins and avoid the $10 million roster bonus. They didn't, and they are dug in for a trade. That's my stance right now. Atlanta, which, flag on me, because the $10 million roster bonus, like a lot of bonuses, I thought would be paid out. Right? It triggers on the 5th day of the new league year, and hey, Kirk gets $10 million. What I've learned in the last 12 hours, 24 hours, is if a team trades for Kirk, they actually acquire that $10 million roster bonus. So let's talk about what happens financially when you trade Kirk Cousins, if you trade him. When a team trades for Kirk, or if a team, right, or any player, they are acquiring their base salary and any unpaid thumbs up right there. They are acquiring their base salary and any unpaid roster bonuses. If a player has a $30 million cap hit, and let's say the Browns trade for Kirk Cousins, the Browns are not taking on $30 million. They're taking on the base salary, which is $27.5 million, and any unpaid roster bonuses. Now, the base salary is divided by 18. 18 weeks in a season, you get one check every single week, 1/18 of your base salary. So any team trading for Kirk before the season, $27.5 million, along with any unpaid bonuses, which and I'm not trying to pass myself off as a salary cap expert. I do spend a lot of time trying to learn as much about it as possible, but I'm not a lawyer, and I won't pretend that is my field of expertise. But that $10 million, I guess, would be lumped into that unpaid roster bonuses portion. So that $10 million may be something the Falcons never end up paying if a team trades for him. This is where things get a little bit hairy, though. I have a very tough time believing any team is going to trade for Kirk Cousins and take on $37.5 million in cash owed to the player. with the way he played last season down the stretch, that's not happening in my book. So that means one of two things. One, a team like, say, the Browns trades for Kirk, and Cleveland and Atlanta splits the $37.5 million. The Falcons say, hey, if you guys take all of this money, we'll only ask for a 6th-round draft pick back. If you want us to split the bill with you, we'll take a 4th rounder, right? That's not uncommon. Teams will pay more of a salary for a difference in draft compensation owed. That's option number one. Option number two, Falcons go, hey, Kirk, the Browns would like to trade for you. We're serious about keeping you now. So I recommend you you remove that no trade clause and you don't use that, and you agree to a new contract with Cleveland. The Browns give Mike McCartney, Cousins' agent, a call and say, we want Kirk, but not at $37.5 million. Can Kirk agree to a new, rip up the old contract, brand spanking new, 1-year, $15 million deal? Cousins might say yes, he might say no. Kirk has made more money than Tom Brady. So Kirk might go, listen, well, if I stayed here, I'd get $37.5 million. Whether they have me on the roster or they release me, that's money owed to me. But then again, if they release me in August because no one trades for me because I don't agree to a new contract, there's no openings in August for a job, right? Every job is filled at that point. So then I don't get to play football. And that comes down to, what does he prioritize, money or playing? For a guy who's made nearly a third of $1 billion, that sounds weird saying, but yeah. That's a lot of money. And maybe he decides, let's not lose out on the chance to play somewhere else because of a $15 million discrepancy of new deal versus my old contract. The last thing I want to touch on here is, what could Atlanta get in a trade now? Because that to me seems like the only path for the Falcons moving on from him. They could release him if no one ever calls. It'd look a little foolish though. If they release him in August, they owe that $10 million. No, maybe Arthur Blank goes, I don't give a shit about $10 million. That's chump change to me. If you guys wanted to pick up a $10 million tab for the opportunity to hold out for a trade and it didn't happen, that's an okay deal. That's a good practice to have over the long term of, we're willing to sink $10 million in hopes of getting a draft pick. And worst case scenario, it's not $10 million of cap space. It's Arthur Blank writing a $10 million check. You and I don't care about Arthur's money. As long as it doesn't raise concession prices at the Benz to make up for it, who cares? But when it comes to a trade, I think the Falcons could probably look at something like what Justin Fields went to the Steelers from last year out of Chicago. That was a Fields trade to Pittsburgh, which sent a 6th-round draft pick to Chicago. That was sorry, I'm blanking on the word. That was predicated on whether or not Cousins played 50% of snaps or more. So it was a trade that could elevate to a 4th based on snap totals. It could not. It could stay at a 6. Ultimately, it stayed at a 6th-rounder. So I think we could see something similar to that, where it's a 6th-round draft pick that could elevate to something higher than that. I don't believe any team's going to give you a 3rd. Don't hold out hope for something like that. 6th, 5th, that could move up to a 4th if Cousins plays 50% of snaps, or if the team makes the playoffs, right? Some type of compensation, something tied to that. I could see that happening. So that's the latest on the Kirk Cousins front and where the Falcons kind of go from here. Yes, make fun of me in the comment section. I deserve it. But I still believe Kirk Cousins, conditional, that's the word I was looking for, a conditional draft pick. I still believe Kirk Cousins will not be on the Falcons roster week 1.